Here's how to transform a basic demo like this
Break me open
into a fully cinematic track like this. But the problem is getting from here to there can be overwhelming. So I'm going to show you 4 things I think about to unlock the hidden potential in your demos and bring your musical vision to life. Let's get started. The first thing I do when I get a demo is I look for the hidden potential. Now this demo was super basic. So it was just piano chords and vocals recorded on an iPhone at about 8 in the morning. She recorded it in a rush just to get the idea to me. But that's actually what I love about it. Because it's so simple, it's like a blank canvas and it's so much easier to imagine all the possibilities when you're not bogged down by a really complex demo.
Whatever I have trapped inside of me hasn't been able to breathe, breathe, breathe.
So I could see so much potential in this demo, and I think it's because the most important thing here is that there's a clear story in the song, or a clear journey, a clear arc. The story comes out in the music and in the lyrics. And in this case, it's about breaking out of your shell, empowerment, taking control of your destiny. That's the emotional core we're going to build on. In my experience, a cinematic song needs some kind of emotional core, story, or arc that can be told in an epic cinematic way. So just know that even if all you have are simple chords and a top line, there's potential there already. So now I'll show you how to start bringing out that potential. So here's a crucial tip that saved me countless hours of frustration. Separate the creative process into distinct phases. So instead of trying to do everything at once, composing, orchestrating, and producing all at the same time, just focus on one role at a time. I used to dive in straight away and try and create the final song right away, bar by bar. Right from the beginning, I'd try and do all the composing, all the orchestration, all the production, and the mixing all at the same time. And it was totally overwhelming. And actually, it mostly led to procrastination because I was wearing too many hats at once. So these days, I avoid that overwhelm by focusing on one role at a time. So first, I'm just focusing on composing out that demo. Orchestration and production can come later. I just wear one hat at a time. So first, put on your composer hat. And this is where you focus solely on musical ideas, melodies, harmonies. And once you have a solid foundation, you can switch to the orchestrator role. And that's where you'll translate your musical ideas into different instruments and you'll start building the arrangement up. And then finally, it's time for the producer hat. And this is where you'll shape the sound and the mix and you'll master the track to bring everything together. But by separating these phases, you avoid that overwhelm and you give each part of the process the attention that it deserves. So look, we've got this raw demo with a ton of musical potential. Now it's time to start sketching out our musical vision. This sketching phase is probably the most important phase for me. It's where we start fleshing out those musical ideas and create a roadmap for the song. So I try and sketch out all my ideas so that when it's time to orchestrate and produce, I already know where I'm going. And I already have thought about what sounds I want too. Here's how I do it. I like to use piano tracks to sketch. And I found that one piano track alone won't do the job for big orchestral cinematic sketches. Because normally I found with orchestral productions, there's too much going on. And I like to visualize all the different melodies and counter melodies and harmony as separate lines. So I like to use 4 piano tracks in my DAW. High, medium, low, and low. So each track represents a different range. And it allows me to sketch out various musical elements like the melody, the harmonies, bass line, counter melodies, and even rhythmic patterns. You could use more than 4 sketch tracks or less than 4. I've just found as a rule of thumb, 4 works quite well for me. So my goal here is then to create a clear outline of the entire song's structure. Don't worry about getting every single note perfect at this stage. Focus on capturing the key elements and building a solid foundation for the rest of the production. So I'm going to show you how those sketches turn into reality. And I'm going to show you how I develop the composition section by section. So let me show you how we build a sense of journey in your song. So cinematic music thrives on having a real arc, a trajectory that takes the listener somewhere. It's not just about verse, chorus, repetition, but creating an experience that evolves and unfolds. That's what I find so exciting about the genre. So looking at my sketch for verse 1, I keep things so simple. I'm focusing on establishing the chords and the overall sound. So it's just setting the scene. But already already in this process, I'm imagining sounds. So I imagined sort of James Bond brass for this first part. And then I knew this next bit would just be strings to change the color a little. So in my sketches, this is where I introduced a counter melody for the first time. The idea was just to add another layer of interest, which then turns into almost the same thing in the final product. So you see that up until here, the sketch is almost a one-to-one mirroring onto the final orchestration. The only thing that I added there is this string line. Which came later just because I felt like it wanted a little bit of extra momentum. That kind of yum bum 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 bum. Now here's where things start to get interesting. So there's a 4-bar lead into verse 2, and I tried to be too clever here. If you listen to the sketch. I overdid it. I was trying to be too clever. I was trying to create this tension and excitement. It did give me a vague roadmap of where I was going, and you can hear how I toned it down in the final product. So you don't always nail everything in the sketch, but it gives you a very good idea of where you're going. You can see already how we've started really simple in verse 1, and then added one counter melody in the chorus, and then built up more excitement into verse 2. So verse 2, I really wanted to get things moving. So the first part of verse 2 starts quite simple. So you hear that there's that rhythmic driver in the piano bass, but I found that that didn't work so well when I actually orchestrated it. So instead, that turned into an ostinato for violins and violas. Then this sketch is a little rhythmic lick, which was really important to me. I wanted it to be the rhythmic excitement, which pulled the verse forwards. The thing is, in the sketch, I only bothered writing it out until here, whereas actually in the real thing, I then continued composing it out. The thing is, I knew I wanted it to carry on, so there was no need to actually write out every single note in the sketch. Once I had that in, I knew where it was going. So that is enough to actually build a cinematic arrangement. As long as you can hear the sounds and you can hear where you're going in your head, then these sketches are just an invaluable roadmap for where I'm going. Now in chorus 2, listen to what the counter melody does, and I'll show you how it developed in the final song. So I knew that this line just wanted to build excitement up towards the final climax. And I knew in my head that that was going to go in the woodwinds. But this is what I want us to focus on, this counter melody, because it basically does the same thing twice. It goes, ya ba 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 ba. Kind of boring. And when I was composing this out for the full orchestra, I knew that I wanted it to build up more. And so you can hear how that sketch turns into the final product. So I I think that's way more epic to have the trumpets really climbing up the scale to something much higher rather than just repeating the same melody twice. And that way it becomes a kind of call and epic response. And it builds a sense of arc, a sense of climax, a sense of development and breaking free, which is what the song is all about. So what I wanted to show you really is that these sketches are a roadmap. They're not a rigid blueprint. And then as you move into orchestration and production, you need to be open to experimenting and letting those initial ideas evolve. And sometimes you'll just find that a simple change in octave or a change in instrumentation or a slight variation in the melody can make all the difference. So the key to transforming this from a simple demo to a fully fledged cinematic track really is sketching. Sketching is an essential bridge for me for taking raw ideas and building a roadmap to the final production. It's not about getting everything perfect right away. It's about exploring, experimenting, and allowing your ideas to evolve. Embrace the process, have fun with it, and you'll be amazed at the new ideas you can create from even the simplest demos. So if you enjoyed this and found it helpful, then feel free to subscribe for more cinematic music creation and composing stuff.
Not sure if I've become a tomb my words have laid to rest in, or if they are just cocooned, undergoing transformation. Whatever I have trapped inside of me hasn't been able to breathe, breathe, breathe. There are no emotions left to read. How will I figure out what I need, need, need? Break me I'm a sealed glass bottle drifting on across the sea.